Welcome to the Savvy Podcasting for Entrepreneurs podcast, a place for podcasters to learn what's actually working in the world of podcasting and how to use their podcast to generate consistent leads in their business. I'm your host, Jenny, and I'm so excited you're here. Hey, Savvies, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm so happy that you are here with me today. So in today's episode, we're going to be chatting all about prepping your podcast recording space, not just the space, but the equipment, all that good stuff. So yeah, I do want to preface this with, you do not need a super fancy recording space or even super expensive equipment to have a successful podcast. Let me repeat that. You do not need a super fancy recording space or even expensive equipment to have a successful podcast. Okay, now that you guys are acknowledging that, we can dive in. But I am a huge proponent of creating a podcast on a modest budget so that you can create a high quality end product without completely breaking the bank, because we don't need to drop thousands of dollars on recording equipment for it to be good. So yeah, let's dive into some ways that we can optimize our current podcast recording space without having to completely redo the room and spend major bucks doing so. So number one, get a dynamic podcast microphone, not a condenser mic. So yeah, I know the Blue Yeti mic is really cute and all, but if you're recording in a room that isn't heavily padded with furniture and or you have non-carpeted floors, which pretty popular these days, it's really going to pick up so much unnecessary background noise that a dynamic microphone wouldn't do so. So do yourself and your podcast editor a favor and get a dynamic microphone from the get-go. You will thank me later, I promise. I highly recommend the Samsung Q2U microphone bundle. I will have it linked in the show notes for you guys, but the Audio-Technica 2100 is a great choice as well. I just use the Samsung Q2U, so that's why I always recommend it, because that is what I personally use. And if you feel like you absolutely need to use the Blue Yeti for whatever reason, maybe you already bought it and that's what you have and you're past the return period, or you just like it and feel comfortable with it, I recommend getting an isolation shield from Amazon to help filter out any additional background noise. It's about $30 or so on Amazon. So make your recording better if you're going to use a Blue Yeti by getting that isolation shield. It's basically like some padding, kind of looks like foam padding that you would have in like a legitimate recording studio. Number two, put down a rug. So this is a super simple tip. If you do have hardwood or tile floors in your podcast space, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. But in addition to having a dynamic mic, make sure that you also have a rug in your space just to give the room some more padding. And yeah, just try and eliminate that echo as much as possible. Number three, you want to get a pop filter for your microphone. So a pop filter helps reduce or eliminate popping sounds caused by the fast moving air on the microphone from plosives, aka words that begin with the letters P, T, K, B, D, and G. I typically hear it with P's, like pop, pop, pop. But these other letters can cause them as well. So get a pop filter. They're pretty cheap on Amazon. If you purchase the bundle Samsung Q2U mic, it comes with a pop filter, I believe. So you don't need to worry about that. But yeah, definitely get one. They're pretty cheap and they make the world of a difference. Number four, you want to silence all notifications. So this is something that is super easy to forget, but it can make a big difference. And that is really just silencing all of your notifications, your phone, your email, your Slack, etc. Anything that can go off, silence that, or minimize that so that you can get really fully present with recording. And when you're distracted, you can totally tell when you're recording. If you're looking at something else and not fully present in the moment, it's obvious a lot of the time. So just do yourself a favor, get rid of all those notifications so that you can be fully present with your solo episode or your guest. And lastly, number five, this is kind of different than the last one, but it's kind of similar. Minimize distractions. So I definitely recommend closing any and all tabs except for your podcast episode outline, of course. And if you're using something like Riverside or Zencastr to record your episode, obviously you can leave that up. But this just allows you to immerse yourself into the recording instead of getting distracted by your open tabs. I know I've been there before where I start opening all these random tabs. Not usually for solo episodes, but sometimes during guest episodes, if it's gone a little long, sometimes I'll open tabs, or in the past I have, but I try not to do it because it's not conducive to a good interview and it's kind of rude. So yeah, close all those random tabs that you have open or minimize them. And I just like to make sure that I'm recording when my son is at daycare or sleeping, when there's no people mowing the lawn outside, which is a pretty common occurrence here. Obviously, you can't be in line with everyone's lawn person schedule because it happens at different times, but try your best. And I try to record when my dog is calm, not like crazy. But you just want to make sure that there's no interruptions throughout the recording or as little as possible. Obviously, we cannot prepare for every single potential distraction that may happen because your dog is probably going to randomly bark throughout an episode or 2 or 3, or someone's going to start mowing the grass halfway through episodes. But really just do the best you can here. Try to record when it is super quiet. And if a distraction does happen, give your editor or yourself space to be able to edit out so that they're not trying to edit out a noise while you're still talking. So if something happens, like a dog barks or something, just stop talking and then start whenever the dog or whatever the distraction is done so that you can have the best possible recording ever. So yeah, that is it for today's episode. I would love to hear from you about your recording space. Are you using any or all of these tips? Let me know over on Instagram. Our new Instagram is at Podcasting for Entrepreneurs. So hit me up in the DMs over there. I'd love to chat with you and talk about your recording space. So yeah, if you want to check out the show notes for today's episode, you can grab those at savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com, and I will see you in the next episode.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast player like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Stitcher, and leave a review. You can find us at savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com and on Facebook at Savvy Podcasting for Entrepreneurs and Instagram at Savvy Podcasting. Make sure to join our free Facebook community for podcasters by going to savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com/community and join in on the exclusive community just for Savvy Podcasting for Entrepreneurs listeners. I'll see you there.